Well, hey, everybody, happy Aloha Friday. And as we don't do these for a long period of time, let's get to it. Adrian, who's our guest today?
So our guest today was born in Palmdale, California, and graduated with a bachelor's degree in environmental science and policy at California State University. Long Beach is where she started working with a nonprofit group to research the Pacific Garbage Patch.
All right. To research the what?
The Pacific Garbage Patch.
Is that correct? The Pacific Garbage Patch? Well,
and there's more. Are you going to read the second part?
Moved to Hawaii after research cruise and continued to work on the garbage patch issues. She started Zero Waste Oahu in 2019 after she finished her master's in environmental anthropology. Please welcome our guest, Nicole Chatterson. Just in that intro, there's a bunch of questions.
Yes.
Thank you both for having me on. This is exciting.
Yeah, so people are, when I heard garbage patch, I was stunned for a minute because I was thinking of the Garbage Pail Kids, those cars that we had when they were younger. But anyway.
I was not allowed to have those cards because they were so inappropriate.
Yeah. I think it was the Garbage Pail Kids. You know what? If you still have copies of those, anybody watching that, they're worth a lot of money now because of big nostalgia. But anywho, let's get to it. The Pacific, I know we had some other questions, but let's get to the meat. Pacific Garbage Patch. I've heard, here's what I know. It's the size of Texas. Is that true or not?
So the estimate is twice the size of Texas, and I would say that's an estimate. So that's a little bit of old information of what we used to know about what was floating on the surface, but now we know it's on the bottom of the ocean and through the entire water column. And this is microplastics, the plastic we can't see, plastic we can see, and also giant items like tires and water bottles, some refrigerators I saw out there, so all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
And it's also not just in the North Pacific, it's in the South Pacific. It's in every major world ocean that we're seeing this big, massive trash.
Yeah. Adrian, you had a question?
Well, Nicole, I just want to, thank you. And actually in honor of, we thought it would be a great timing to have you on the show because of the Earth Day or Earth Month. And with, that kind of top of mind, what kind of ways can our viewers or listeners get involved?
Yes, Earth Month is the busiest month of the year for us. Everybody's asking that question, which is the point. It's a great thing. In my opinion, most of my interest is around waste reduction, and that's because it connects to all these other issues. It connects to our energy consumption. It connects to how much water we're using. It connects to how much land we're using to put our trash in when we're done with it. And there are some pretty straightforward ways to reduce waste. For example, if you're used to buying your salsa and your hummus prepackaged, that package is going to be thrown away. What if you made it at home instead? If you don't have time for that sort of thing, ordering your produce from FarmLink, from one of the CSAs, can often create less packaging on the food you're buying versus buying it at Costco. And I love Costco from a budget perspective, but Costco tends to come with food very overpackaged, and all of that is going straight into the rubbish bin. And that costs us a lot in water, in energy, in greenhouse gas emissions to transport plastic. Yeah. So those are some of the things I think about. Folks who are thinking about what they can do from a homeowner's perspective, there's a lot when you are remodeling and reconstructing a home that can actually be donated to places like Reuse Hawaii, Habitat for Humanity. And a lot of old homes in Hawaii are made with redwood. That stuff is incredibly valuable. Termites love it, right? So all of that can be donated and reused. And it keeps it out of our landfills, which are closing soon. So the one landfill that takes construction waste has a couple years left, and our main landfill was supposed to have closed many years ago, and we keep extending it. So we're kind of in this situation where we've stuffed as much as we can into the ground, and we got to do better about keeping it.
Sounds like we're going to create the 9th island, and it's not Las Vegas. It's going to be this big pile of trash. It's weird too, because I know it's called Waimanalo Gulch, and it's not in Waimanalo. It's directly across from Colina. resort, and I know they've had some overspill issues, runoff issues. That all that stuff creates like gases, I hear, underneath the ground, and can be explosive if it's not vented. And so we got to think about it. So you're saying to help stop this thing that's collecting in the ocean, we got to start at home or at Costco or at Safeway or in our shopping.
Yeah, it's a dance between us as consumers and also the producers and the retailers. So consumers is the demand less packaging, compostable packaging, and producers are starting to catch up with that.
Yeah. It seems like when they pass some kind of like bag law or something, the stores figure out some end runaround.
That would be the plastics industry figuring out that runaround.
Okay. Yeah, they see what the law is and say, okay, we'll make one tweak here, and then. But I noticed too that a lot of places they charge now, so it's creating some incentive. I mean, I think about it, we've been shopping at Costco for what, 20 years? I looked at it. I'm a member for 20 years. I couldn't believe I was a member that long. They don't have packaging. There's never, like, if we can fill a whole grocery cart, I know the packaging of the stuff is terrible, but all the bags and stuff like that, if we can fill a whole grocery cart, throw it in our car, and then throw it in the house, why can't we do that with every place? Target, Walmart, Safeway, Walmart, all of them. Just get rid of the bags altogether. No need a bag.
Give us bags and we survive. I love that point.
So, I mean, there's a lesson there in our daily habits of how it can work. It's just, but it's human nature, right? When we're all going to start driving electric cars, when gas is like $28 a gallon, like it is in Europe, because that's why all the cars are tiny. But Adrian, you had a question for her.
Well, I want to get back to this garbage patch.
Yeah.
So, like Atilio said that it was like the size of Texas, and now you're saying no, it's like twice the size of Texas. What's being done to stop that from growing? Is there anything, besides, us as consumers, trying to use less, products and, trash, but what's happening with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are cleanup efforts, and those are fantastic. They'll end up, there's a group removing giant fishing nets and large pieces of debris from the Northwest Hawaiian Islands. There's groups cleaning rubbish off of our coastlines. There's groups who are putting nets and materials that can catch trash coming out of our waterways. At one point, there was a boom on the Hawaii Canal to keep the trash coming out of the canal and from going into the ocean. So there's those kinds of prevention measures, but we're also just creating and making too much stuff for that to work. So if our cleanups are going to be impactful, we need to start also having less to clean up, and that's where the major problem is.
So environmental anthropology, what is that?
Yeah. Great question. It's the cultures we build around our relationship to the environment. So the two extreme mindsets could be nature is here for us to use and do with what we want, or we are a part of nature. Those are kind of two ends of the spectrum. And there's all kinds of mindsets in between. So part of why I was interested in environmental anthropology is in undergraduate, I studied science and policy, and I realized I could go out with clear numbers and clear policy mechanisms, but if we're not changing our relationship to the land, ocean, air, to our, what we call natural resources, none of those numbers are going to matter. It doesn't matter to most people when you say how many parts per million of greenhouse gases are in the atmosphere. What matters to them is when things start to change and impact them. So how do we promote a cultural shift sooner than later?
Here's a question I have, because you hear I think one of the big effects on our recyclables is that I was listening to a podcast that China is not buying a lot of it that they used to, and so there's no incentive to take that out of the garbage stream, because I know they got in California these machines that with lasers and stuff like that can remove all this stuff from the garbage stream. Big, huge machines that do it, but then they're collecting all this stuff. And I dread the fact that my blue bin was just picked up today. So the question is, that stuff I put in the blue bin, where is it going? Because I feel like, are they just humoring us with these blue bins, or is it actually being recycled?
Yeah, that's a great question. If it's going in the blue bin and it's not a piece of trash, because people are putting trash in the blue bin, then it is getting recycled. So the city and county has a great set of contracts and systems to make sure the material is getting to its endpoint. Where things are a little less clear is some of the commercial haulers. When I used to live in faculty housing at UH, for example, and I would see the hauler come and put the recycling into the same bin as the trash can. And this is something I hear time and time again. That's not a unique experience. So different sets of regulations, depending on where you're looking, that might mean that some of the recycling is ending up going to H Power instead. So here we incinerate most of our trash at called H Power, and then the ash goes into the landfill. One more thing to add there when thinking about recycling and why places like China have stopped taking some of our stuff, there's an analogy we often use of, if your house is flooding and because your bathtub is overflowing, the first thing you do is try and turn off the water, right? You don't start bailing the overflowing amount of water. You turn it off first. And we haven't figured out how to do that with all the material we have to recycle. So there's also just too much in the global market to manage. And when we do sell our recyclables to an end user, sometimes they just don't even have the capacity to handle it all. And then it might get dumped. It might get not end up becoming a new product or a new material.
I think high five should be high $1, because then homeless people would be in droves. They'd be like snatching it out of your hand. Are you finished with that?
Yeah.
We gotta recycle it. And then I think it should be more expensive for glass than plastic, because I see them and they're like, they get all bougie with the recycling. They're like, oh, glass, because it's too heavy, right? Because it's 5 cents for a bottle of glass and 5 cents for the water bottle that I can squish down like that. So I see them leaving the bottles and picking up the plastic stuff in there. But for your company, tell us about your mission statement. What are you doing? How are you helping us move the needle with this Pacific garbage patch? Because you're helping change our minds and our thoughts, right?
Yeah, great question. So we do two main things. We work on public engagement around policy, getting people connected with our legislators to voice their opinions about what needs to change. And we also work on drafting policy and working with stakeholders across the gamut to make sure the policy works for everyone. So right now I'm sitting on a county working group with folks from the building industry, with folks from the packaging industry, and we're trying to figure out how to solve this problem through policy. Another thing we do is direct action projects. So this is where we get in and we try and shake up the system as it currently exists and show other ways of doing things. So two of our big projects there are we're working on a reusable takeout container program. We've been doing this for about a year and a half, and we prevented 18,000 single-use containers from going into our waste stream, just by offering folks the opportunity to check out a reusable, and then we take them and sanitize them according to different. The other big project we have going on there is working with restaurants in Chinatown to get their food waste composted. So right now, the city doesn't offer any food waste composting services commercially, and we're trying to bridge that gap and build that system out.
All right, Adrian, you had another question?
Yeah. So, Nicole, I think originally when we had talked about what you did and kind of your journey, I just found it so interesting, this research cruise. So let's circle back to that origin story about how you actually made your way over to Hawaii.
Yeah, sure. So I had, like everybody does, an undergraduate internship, and I ended up working with a nonprofit who was looking at plastic in the ocean. And even though I was studying environmental science, I hadn't really focused in on that topic yet. So this was my first exposure to the fact that there's plastic accumulating almost everywhere on our planet, and it really woke me up and got me passionate about the topic. And for a long time, my job was tracking grants and doing spreadsheets and all the office stuff. Meanwhile, there were all these awesome research cruises going on, and people would go cruise around in the ocean for 3 weeks, 7 weeks, and sample plastic. And I really wanted to figure out how to be a part of that because I like adventure and also because I wanted to see this garden passion I've been reading so much about and writing so much about. So eventually I joined the crew on their 10-year anniversary cruise. So they had been sampling in the Pacific for 10 years, and we spent 7 weeks sailing between Long Beach, California, to Oahu. We stopped here, did a resupply, and then we went up to the Northwest Hawaiian Islands to Papahanao, Mokuakea, and did some sampling around there.
Yeah.
Everywhere we looked, there was plastic, and that, yeah, it blew me away and really set me on this path. Like I was mentioning earlier, some of it we couldn't see until we put nets in the ocean and sifted the plastic out, so the ocean would look clean. Turns out it was just full of tiny stuff we couldn't see.
Yeah.
And there were other areas where you're driving along these where the currents converge, and it's almost like a thick river of trash. And it's refrigerator parts. It's a lot of stuff from the fishing industry, like pieces of laundry baskets that are, I guess, they're used to move fish around. Lots of, we call them ghost nets. So the nets used to collect fish, but they get tangled and they just kind of get cut off the boats and let go sometimes.
Yeah.
And those actually wrap around the propeller of the boat. So you're in the middle of nowhere and your prop is getting stuck on nets.
Yeah. The other thing too we notice is a true, like little fish eat the microplastics and then big fish eat the small fish. So when you have sashimi or, akubeli, or you eating some fish at your dinner table, you're eating your plastics that you just threw in the ocean.
Yeah, that's actually some of the work we were doing on the boat was fish necropsies. So we would collect fish, cut them open, and see if they had plastic.
Yeah. I noticed, oh, by the way, if I did it, I know somebody else will do it, but it's zerowasteoahu.org. I forgot to put the Oahu on, and I almost made a donation to a nonprofit in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Thanks for catching that.
So it's Zero Waste Oahu, everybody, zerowasteoahu.org. And what I noticed is you guys have a, Sheen, show them the donate, click on the donate page, because I always like to, so here's for you, and I'm gonna give you this message that you can give to our business owners, because Adrian and I are gonna make a donation too. But human beings, we don't like to do stuff, and click on that donate button. So what they got there, Sheen, is that from a business standpoint, the reason why you want to make and support nonprofits is it will help you be more profitable. And what I mean by that is for benefit marketing. Adrian, what is for benefit marketing, or where did we get that concept of for benefit marketing from? What company?
So Tom's Shoes is, they're known for, if you buy a pair of shoes from them, then they're going to donate a pair of shoes to someone who's in need.
Yeah.
And, I think that like with the consumers, when they see two companies that are exactly the same, but one of them is, more involved with the community and giving back, then they're gonna choose that to do business with that company that's giving back to the community.
The CEO wrote a book on this called For Benefit Marketing. And as Adrian mentioned, consumers see a lot of companies as similar. And now you're thinking, oh, my company's different. Wow, it doesn't matter what your perspective is, it's what the consumer's perspective is. And when they see two companies that are similar, 96% of the time, they go with the company that's giving back to the community or giving back in some way. You remember the Yoplait yogurt with the pink lids? Adrian, what was the pink lids about?
It's for for breast cancer.
For breast cancer, sales shot up 30%. So it works, folks. So that's the reason why you should give back. Employees like working for companies that give back, so it helps with recruitment. Employees like staying at companies that give back, so it helps with retention. So I just gave you three reasons why, business people, you need to go click on this button and write a huge check to zerowasteoahu.org to increase your profits, to increase your recruitment, and increase your retention. So you can totally duplicate that message. Nicole, I do charge a copyright of 25 cents for the first use, and all uses thereafter are completely free. But we'll definitely make a donation because You know, I think it was one of the orbiting satellites it was one of the first orbiting satellites that went into space. Do you know what it was known for in history? This is back in the 60s. It took a very famous picture. And what it did was it did a 180 and it took a picture of Earth. And you see that blue marble photo. And when you take a look at that, people realize it's just one planet that we got. So it doesn't matter, you know, if we think our thing that we're doing is insignificant, add up the billions and billions of people that are living on the planet, and we all have our part to play. If there was one last message that or thing that you wanted to share with our group before we sign off, what would it be?
Ooh, get outside. That's my main motivating factor when I think about making changes that might be a little uncomfortable for me. Get outside, and I fall in love with this incredible place. Hawaii is gorgeous. Most of the places we all are living are gorgeous. Get in the ocean, get in the mountains, and that's where I draw my inspiration from to do a little better.
Yes.
We don't have to be perfect. We just have to keep doing a little better.
Yeah, and just do a little bit. Adrian, any last things?
No, just thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to having you on our radio show as well.
Yeah.
And you know, just continuing to spread the word about this important work that you're doing here in our islands. So thank you, Nicole, for all you do.
So you businesses out there, when you make your donation, put in the memo part. Gee-hoo, heard you on the Team Lally show. And hit that donate button, and let's go ahead and support. Because what you're doing is, everybody says go write a letter to your congressman, but you guys are more like a 20x version of that, because you know how to create the message that's going to get the response from our legislators. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. And
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Aloha.
Aloha.